Hello and welcome to Rage Quit. My name is Jay, and today we're going to be looking at some news that Spiky Bits have just posted, which is apparently that Games Workshop are announcing a price increase for 2019 to take effect on the 8th of July. Now, there's a couple of things I want to talk about here, but before I do, we'll get into the source, we'll get into everything, all that kind of stuff. If you like this video, and I mean like me talking about the video rather than the fact that GW are increasing their prices, do hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, you're interested in like Games Workshop, Warcry, all that kind of good stuff, skirmish games, do consider hitting the subscribe button, as that really does help. Thank you very much. So we'll get on to the source, and then I'll give you my opinion on it after that. So the source is from Spiky Bits. I know they don't have a great reputation amongst some of you, but I strongly suspect that this is still true. I can't imagine them making this up. It would be a blunder on their part, I think, if that was the case. But it was posted today, maybe about 20 minutes ago or something like that, by Robert, the man himself. And this talks about in February up the price for the paints, fair enough. But then apparently this has been the email that has been sent out, which is like an upcoming price change in your region. So, I mean, it could just affect the Americas. It's without any official statement from Games Workshop for Europe and all that kind of stuff. Anything would be speculation. So we just know there's a price increase in the North America at least, and they're letting you know in advance that it's going to be taken into effect on the 8th of July, and there's a selection of products, and there's a new price list. So you can see on this one it's a 20% increase, it's a $5 increase. Here's a 14% increase for whatever this is. The WASBomb Blaster Jet order change is going up by 18%. You can see the differences here. The Blood Bowl starter set's going up like essentially $16, and they're going to take into effect on the 8th of July. Right, so we're going to presume that that's true. Don't know if it extends to any other regions. So first and foremost, Games Workshop can price their products however they want, and it's completely acceptable for them to do so in a way that is going to try and maximize their profits. Right? If you disagree with that, then I was going to say me and you have a problem. Well, we don't, but it's that's just what capitalism allows them to do. They can do whatever they like in that sense. Number two, you have whether or not their prices are like a fair reflection of what they should be. And to that extent, obviously, I can't give you an answer. But my main interest here is like, when exactly will be too much for people? Now, a lot of people have been talking about Games Workshop being high prices, and relatively they possibly are, and how they might price themselves out of the market. However, that has never happened, and if anything, quite recently, Games Workshop's business is doing very well. They're always producing profits after profits. They're giving money away to the employees. I think their profits, they split some of it amongst their employees and stuff like that. To be fair, they're absolutely smashing it. They're killing it, aren't they? They're doing a fantastic job in business senses, and amongst the community, their reputation has been steadily improving. We've been getting the community side of things has been improving, the rules and the FAQ consistency has been improving, all that kind of good stuff. So Games Workshop have been killing it, and their profits have been in reflection of that, and in line with that. Right? So with that in mind, they've gone like, well, we can probably increase our prices. Why would we do such a thing? One, well, we can either make more money. Two, the increase of shipping, maybe even Brexit. I know we don't want to talk about too much politics, but increased cost of shipping, increased cost of manufacturing, cost of living, everything increases. Generally people get cost of living bonuses because of inflation, etc. There's reasons that prices do go up. Right? It's not beyond the realms of possibility. And that's reflected across many different businesses and not just Games Workshop. But Games Workshop are perceived to be a little bit more expensive than other hobby companies. So the question is, at what point would there be a tipping point? Where is the tipping point in that is what I'm trying to say. Like, if a Games Workshop Space Marine cost £20 per model, and I just mean a generic Space Marine, nobody would play Space Marines, right? Well, not nobody. Quite a few people wouldn't play Space Marines. We'd all be looking at other games like Legion or Mantic games like Kings of War, etc., Deadball, whatever it's called, Dreadball, and the other one, Dead Zone. The competitors would rise to the fore, and the Games Workshop or overly priced models would sink off. that's true, right? But I mean, who is to say exactly where that point is? It's obviously not happened yet. Is this going to be the breaking point? Probably not. The reality is probably not. As a whole, this kind of industry is generally probably price inelastic. I've never seen the stats behind this, but in economics, there is a concept of price elasticity, which is essentially, it's hard to explain. We're just coming off the cuff, I guess, but some products, it doesn't matter how much they charge, people will buy them anyway, right? And the opposite is true, is sometimes really the change in price really affects what people are going to, how much people are going to buy it. It's sort of like supply and demand, except it's the ratio of the supply and demand, I guess, is a simple way of explaining it. Imagine drugs, right? If you're addicted to alcohol, then you're more likely to pay whatever for the price of alcohol, for a drink of alcohol. Whereas if you're not addicted to alcohol, you're obviously, like, you're not addicted to orange juice, people aren't addicted to that, so you might be like, well, I'm not going to drink orange juice, I'm going to drink apple juice if the price of orange juice is so expensive. So generally, wargaming as a whole is an expensive hobby, and in theory, because it's an expensive hobby, it's generally people who have some disposable income. Not necessarily the mega rich or anything like that. I'm certainly not a 1% or anything like that, I just have some, I can save some money a month and I can spend some money a month on my hobbies. I have a job, I have a wife. Hopefully a kid at some point will eventually fall into our laps, although I'm pretty sure that's not how you get kids. But, hopefully that will happen. And I think I'm probably like an average person in that sense. But if you were a kid or a younger person, or maybe you didn't have a job, then, wargaming is probably expensive for you and it's going to be hard to be involved in that. So generally, I would say wargaming as a whole is price inelastic in that they can sort of charge what they want and people will still buy it because it's like a luxury item. I don't want to get too much into economics here, I do apologise. But that's generally been the case. The one problem with that is competitors, right? Generally, everything in that bracket will do the same thing or similar. If it's inelastic, then the difference in price isn't really as important. But that doesn't mean just because it's not as important, it doesn't mean that it's not important to some people, or there might not be a tipping point. Games Workshop, as I said, have this historical view that, well, people view them that they are expensive, and if they become just too expensive for people to bother, and just as competitors are coming along and being good enough, like Legion, I think is killing it at the moment. I think it's absolutely fantastic game system. The models are going to be improved when they get the new plastics, etc. If Legion suddenly becomes a real competitor to 40k, and 40k has suddenly just gone up by 15% in price, people might think, you know what, I'll give Legion a try instead. Whether or not this is that point, I strongly doubt. Games Workshop are at the peak, at the height of the success at the moment, and this certainly isn't a breaking point. And I'm not even commented here whether or not it's a fair price increase. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how much this stuff costs to make. I don't know how much this costs to ship. I don't know how much the stores cost. I literally don't know. I do apologize to hitting the mic, but I literally don't know anything about the exactitudes of Games Workshop's business models. Just because other companies can maybe sell a model cheaper than another model doesn't really mean anything. For Games Workshop, they might spend more on their designers, might spend more on their testing. Who knows? They might have a manufacture process that costs more. There's all kinds of different things. They might use different materials. So I'm not here to say whether or not it's fair or not. All I can say is that Games Workshop are entitled to do it. It's their decision. Obviously, there can be a backlash if that's what people feel. But again, it's not that it's an unfair price increase. Some prices might be unfair. I'm looking at you, Australia. But it's not that it's an unfair concept. It's whether or not it's just personally for some people too much, right? And that's opinion. But whether or not there's enough of an opinion sway is what I'm sort of really interested in. And I don't think this will be that case, but I'm always on the I was never brought up rich or anything. I don't want to say I was brought up poor, because it wasn't like we were like scavenging for food or anything, but I wasn't particularly wealthy as a child. And it's like I'm always budget conscious. Like whenever I make terrain or anything like that, I'm always wondering like, how much does this cost? What are my alternatives? what is the best value for money. And if that changes enough, and enough people are like me and do that kind of calculation in their head, and Games Workshop are more expensive than others, then they could have a problem. But this, I don't think, is going to be that point, especially when they're at their like maximum like success at the moment. So yeah, I'm not going to go through the price increases. You can see, you can be intrigued when we actually get the price increases. Presuming it's going to happen in the UK, I think it will happen in the UK, and presumably it'll happen in almost all regions. Hopefully they might not do it in some. Again, Australia, New Zealand, you guys generally seem to get the raw end of that one. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about what's your opinion. I have done videos in the past where I've literally like tried to calculate how much individual models cost compared to other companies, and I've done a video where I tried to look at the cost of an army, because I thought basically GW require for the full tournament army lists generally more expensive lists than say other games. But that's not necessarily per model wise. They were actually quite reasonable. But yeah, that's those videos. I won't link them or anything like that. They were on Tabletop Oddity if anybody wanted to go find them. But yeah, they're increasing their prices. They're entitled to do it. I don't think we're at the breaking point, but I just wanted to ask the question and see what your guys' opinion is of it. So let me know that in the comments below. If you enjoyed listening to me ramble about it, then do hit the like button. And if you want to subscribe for more content, I would obviously really appreciate that. So thank you very much to you guys. Have a beautiful day. The sun is setting in the UK. I'm a bit pale because I don't like the sun. Have a beautiful day. Goodbye.